be patient with yourself, and know that if you don't have the thing that you want to have right now, you're just normal. You're not like any worse off than anyone else. You're not any less talented than anyone else. You're just right where you're at, because that's the time that you put into it is where you're at. If you keep going at it and you keep practicing and keep growing and just don't stop, you're gonna get better, you know. And then on top of that, when we want to, you know, throw the whole career aspect into it, really know, just be responsible. Be responsible, from finances to surrounding yourself with good people, a team of people who will empower you and you can empower them, and trust in each other will be a great benefit to you creating something for yourself, whether that be for career or whether that's just for yourself for fun. But doing it with good people, that's the way to do it.
Nice.
So we heard like work hard. That is a must. Trust your process. That is definitely a must. That is like a continuing thing. And I think speaking on my own like life path, I think finding your authentic self and what your authentic voice is, so that you know exactly what you want. Because when you don't know that, you're just kind of fishing for what's cool, so that, you know, you can be accepted into something that you can possibly not like. And that takes time. It takes time to realize that. And if you're young, you know, you're consistently searching for that. I feel like I didn't really know who I was until like, I don't know, like 24, 25, you know, and it takes time. Everyone has different roads. But I think if you start now and you start asking yourself questions about what's your why do you want this? Why do you want to be on Kinjaz? You know, what can you do for Kinjaz? Or why do you want to be like a dancer in the industry too? You know, like you have to answer these questions so that you know how to get there, rather than just wanting to be there.
Nice.
Yeah.
Dude, that's so deep.
And then, you know, drinking.
You gotta always dive back to the shallowest. Shallowest of water.
And then you gotta get some girls, dog. That's what it is, yo. I'm just kidding.
So I do want to ask, because you guys have like really different styles too, right? Styles of dance. Who are some influences, right, to you? It doesn't have to just be like a dancer or a teacher. You know, it could be, I don't know, whoever, celebrity, you know, a family member. Who are some people that really you think helped shape like you?
Whoa. I think the main person who helped shape me and my dance style is Sean Risto. A longtime friend of mine, taught me my first dance steps. And then just even aspiring to be, like, once we found out there were like cool like guy dancers out there in the industry, we were like, oh dang, you don't have to take your shirt off, and we're like, oh dang, I want to dance like that guy. So like, yeah, because like you like watch like Janet Jackson, for example, like on a music video, and like all the dudes like their shirts are off. Yeah. But then you'd watch like Justin Timberlake, and they're like, oh, those dudes are like wearing fedoras and stuff.
They got like clothes on.
It's like, oh man, they look so cool, and they dance like guys. And yeah, so like Marty Hidalgo, Sky Hoffman, Eddie Morales. All those guys. Kinjaz.
Hey.
Sorry, what was the question again?
Your influences.
Yeah, I mean, all the Kinjaz around, they're really strong influences, because like you may be even like finding out more about yourself as a dancer, and then they're doing the same thing too, and then you're like, oh, that was dope, I want to do that too. So it's just a constant kind of growth, improvement ladder of sorts.
Okay.
Dance influences. I would say Kevin Brewer. He was. Yeah, Kev was and still is, has always been somebody who I just the way he understands his body and the way to articulate music. I've never seen that. He was the first person to show me that, like, through freestyle. His DJ Shadow freestyle from Culture Shock will still be like the greatest thing of all time for me, in terms of like a moment that I saw and I was so confused of like, is this choreography? And then the next time I saw it, I was like, it's different. Did he re-choreograph that? And I was just like, oh my gosh, this was freestyling. That's crazy. So, yeah, shout out KB. I think he's always going to be a major influence for me. Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, guys like Sean to Phil Tyak, shout out Phil. Like really, yeah, like it's so many of the Kinjaz now. I mean, frig, man, from Bam to Ving, you know, Keone, like so much. And I think, and it's funny because I feel like I don't really even move like any of them, but it's just, it's no, it's like the appreciation. I think understanding how to see what I admire about their movement ability and their mentality, and then knowing how to translate that to my own movement in my own body. So I think I've been able to just get certain things, whether it's mental training to just, yeah, I guess even physical movement training. I would say those individuals in particular are great influences on me.
Cool.
I'm gonna start. My first dance influence was a guy named Wave-O-Matic. Yeah, he was OG waver from Homeland in Long Beach. He taught me a lot about waves, and that's when I really started getting into waving. And then I think later on, you know, Poriotics is definitely like an influence in my life because that was where I started to become more creative with popping and choreography. And then I think after that was Anthony. Anthony definitely rocked my world. No, all rocked my world. And just, you know, in artistry and mentality and how to work hard. And then recently, I feel like a lot of my influences have been from Tony Tran. You know, and I think he taught me a lot about the highest level of isolations. But then, like, those are like the people that the core group that I heavily am influenced by. And then there's like people then in my other styles that I'm still trying to learn, like with groove, you know, there's like Mike Fowl and like even Ben's groove sometimes are like very swaggy, and I'm like, okay, I want that sometimes. And then like Ving heavily influenced me on like footwork along with Bam. And then another side, because I want to start, you know, b-boying more, like, so it's like Twinjaz and Darren Wong, like the Floor Bros have been like big inspiration to my movement as well.
That's dope.
Yeah.
Dope. Thanks, guys. Okay, and then leading, because then it just started to jog my memory. Have you been watching my Boba Talks about the urban choreo?
Here and there, yes.
Okay. So
I saw the one with like Richter and Mappy.
Yeah, cool. So that is gonna be it's transitioning to that question, right? I know it's Mike and Anthony. I really wanted to also ask them, but I'll ask them next time. Next time I'm here. So I guess like looking at your influences and maybe your journeys, like I guess can you speak to maybe your own take on what urban choreo is? You know?
I'm gonna throw that one to Ben.
Why do I get it?
Okay, wait. Let me ask. No, Mike. Out on this. Hold on. Let me ask. Okay, so let me ask you like this. Let me ask you like this though. Okay, so do you like that there's a label to the way that you move? Would you agree that urban choreo is, I guess, that's what you would call the way that you move?
I don't have a problem with it. I think it's like the idea of it being labeled as something. I think it's kind of weird, but I don't not agree with it. Right? It all comes from my understanding, at least.
Yeah.
Just because like even OGs wouldn't call what we do hip hop. Like obviously even for me, like I grew up dancing R&B. I grew up dancing like NSYNC.
Yeah.
It's like is that hip hop? It's not.
Yeah.
Like so my influences were heavily upon like just like kind of commercial styles and then whatever music we were listening to, especially in the Bay Area. It wasn't heavily hip hop. It was like we would get training in hip hop. I would take popping classes. I would take hip hop classes. I would take groove classes and stuff like that. But it wasn't always the hip hop music. So I think just being categorized in hip hop dance with not hip hop music, it's already kind of like it's moving away from the definition.
Good way to put it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and then from what I understand, how like people traveling and the OGs not calling them hip hop because obviously it was done to like R&B music or an instrumental track or even like electronic music. It's not hip hop music, but then the styles could be based upon hip hop like techniques,
Sure.
and stuff like that. So, again, so I'll say I don't have a problem with the term urban dance or urban choreography. I just feel like people need to call it something. That's what they're calling it. But for me, it's just all dance.
Yeah. Good job, Mikey.
Yeah.
Good job.
That was a great answer,
job.
Mike.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
freaking good. I think, yeah, I don't identify the term urban dance as a style. It's not I dance urban dance. That's my style, because I don't think it's a style. I kind of liken it onto like MMA. Like mixed martial arts is not a style. It's a platform where the disciplines, for whether it be jujitsu, boxing, taekwondo, like whatever, like all these things that are fused, kind of like all these disciplines that are fused, and then it lives in this like realm called mixed martial arts,
Sure.
So I would say, urban dance, like what Mike was saying, because not everything is done to hip hop music, and not even all the movement itself is always derived from hip hop like styles either,
Yeah.
because whether that be jazz technique to modern to tap dancing, like you wouldn't necessarily be able to call all of that hip hop. And so I think it's kind of like this, when everything is kind of fused and it's kind of, there's no rules in terms of you can only dance to these types of songs, to only move in these types of ways, because there is just like this kind of almost a gray area. It's just like, well, what do we call that? And I think it's just almost a way to understand, like, when things are fused in such a way that you can't necessarily categorize every single time you see something, that it has to fall into categories. Like, well, it never falls into any one thing all the time. So how do we understand what that is? And so I think, and a big portion of it too is the choreography aspect of it too. I think, because when you get into like, freestyle, like I think it's a little bit easier to categorize freestyle. Well, I mean, I guess it depends too, depending on how you choose to move. But I think the side of it where so much of it is choreographed dance to, and that's on stage or in front of a camera or whatever. I think when you add that element to it, it's hard to just like categorize it as one thing. So I think definitely with what Mike was saying in terms of how it's not always to hip hop music, and it's not always hip hop movement, but I look at it more as a realm and an arena that all these things can exist in, but urban dance itself is not a style.
Okay. I'm processing. But thank you. So then see, you when I listened to you, you did call your style waving, right? Okay.
Well, I mean, it's like a technique that I first learned, but even throughout my career, even when like I was in Poriotics and we were doing popping robotic choreography, we were still we weren't really like looked at as like the popping scene either. We were getting a lot of like just disdain from like the community too, and that's when we were just like, okay, then we'll just keep doing our thing. And I couldn't really characterize it either, because you were using the technique and doing it to music
Yeah, you did.
that was like electronic and stuff like that. So yeah, back to the term urban choreography. I feel like the big term of that is like the choreography aspect of it, and it's so artistic that you have to kind of look at it in a certain way that it's more so like a theory. It's not really necessarily a style that you can say, oh, I'm going to learn this specific style, but more so it's like a theory, like of using all these things and creating something that's brand new, something so new that like people that have seen these type of movements before to different music can't necessarily categorize it with how they've always seen it. So it's like an evolved form or just a different theory on it, and I think that's why I like it. I feel like it's it pleases me artistically. Even like I do like doing freestyle. I do like doing hip hop freestyle, and I do believe that like hip hop is very strong. I studied a lot about hip hop and stuff like that. I was on Culture Shock too, and I learned a lot about that as well. But even when I look back and I look at what urban dance is now, I see it more as a theory rather than like, this is urban dance.
Yeah, because it's a way to explain not only that is it changing so fast, but people are starting to think differently of how they make their dances.
Right. Okay. And I think there's also the inclusiveness of like urban dance, I would say, that it's kind of, it's kind of all inclusive, that because let's say if you categorize yourself under a certain style, whether that be I'm a modern dancer or I'm a hip hop dancer, that means unless you're fully in that realm, like you can't quite be like, I wouldn't be able to call myself like, say, a popper unless like I fully am just like, I understand all the techniques and every time I get down it's popping and I can kind of categorize that. But then urban dance is like, it's really like this anything goes sort of thing, not to say that it doesn't involve discipline and training, because it does, and a lot of it is training in specific styles, right? And to kind of get your whole movement catalog, and then once you have that, the way that you want to express it is very free, and there is no limitation of like, oh, I can't do that because if I do that exactly. Yes, I think there's an inclusiveness about urban dance that
that hip hop did not frame or did not include.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. No, that makes sense. And that probably speaks to, again, we're talking about how culture is changing so fast with social media. Everyone now knows all of these styles. Everyone can see the mixing of the styles. And it's easier, like if you want to copy what something is, you don't have to wait. You can just watch something and learn it and then interpret it, it's going so fast. Yeah. So, okay. So I get that. And I think that's really, I guess, like really now thinking about it, reflecting on it, like really forward thinking of whoever, coined it that. Because way back here in the hip hop side, it's still like, wait, why? Yeah. But I get it. People are resistant to change, and it's hard to change. But I also hear that it was already changing with or without, right? Like it was already happening. So cool. Thank you for clarifying that for me and for whoever's watching.
I have like even one more thing, because like even when I started dancing, I don't ever remember calling it like learning hip hop.
Oh, okay.
I always just remember like, it's okay, you want to dance, and like that's what it was. And then people, if they wanted to take like a dance class that wasn't tap or jazz or whatever, it was like hip hop. But then like just thinking back, there weren't like hip hop classes. I just wanted to throw that out there.
Wait, sorry, let me ask real quick. So you're in, are you referring to Westlake where you...
Well, see, so coming back from, Westlake is the dance school that the company is based out of. But I didn't enroll in it. I was just dancing with friends, and whatever it was called, it was whatever it was called.
There you go. Yeah. There you go. I get it now. Yeah. I get it. Because us that had that foundation, it was called hip hop. It was called that. So there's a little bit more like, wait, why are you changing it up now?
Not changing, because like I never had to call it hip hop.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Okay.
I was just gonna say, I don't think a lot of people that do urban dance really love the name urban dance either. I feel like it's just something that has fell upon us, and it's just kind of like, okay, that's what it is, and it's not that like we're trying to make this thing like, urban dance is the next best thing. But it's more so just like, oh shit, we're urban dance. It's like, that's pretty much what we do. And like, okay, I'm just going to keep going then. Okay. But it's still, I still like, as a person that does urban dance, I still give a lot of like my gratitude to the people that I learned it from.
For sure.
Dope.
And I think that's what's really important, is like really giving it to the people that like led the way in these types of styles that are token styles, like waving or like hip hop, you know. So
Yes. And so if you guys don't know, like Rocksteady Crew, you know, Don Campbellock, Poppin' Pete, you know, I'm not sure about waving or tutting.
oh yeah, that's
Mr. Wiggles.
all underground. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But there's so many Buddha Stretch, you know,
Yeah.
Mop Top, so many, many. Look them up.
Yep.
And if you guys kind of like have a question, or you're like, oh yeah, I agree with what Mike said, or what Ben said, or what Charlie said, drop a comment, right?
Boom.
Do it.
And so now I'm gonna ask you a really deep, thought-provoking, sensitive thing.
Okay, ready.
Okay, get ready for
Let's do
this. Okay, now I'm your friend, right? You could trust me, right?
Yes.
You could trust me.
scared.
Okay. I want you to think about who is the most annoying Kinja member. Who is it?
Wow.
They're trying to break us up.
What is this
annoying?
division
Most annoying.
happening here?
Most annoying. Most annoying. I think it's annoying when Anthony makes us want to work.
That is a joke.
Yeah.
That's a joke.
I think Arnell said it was villain because he farts a lot.
What?
Arnell said that?
Yeah.
New answer, Arnell.
I, honestly, you know who the most annoying Kinja is? It's me.
Okay. Confessions.
I'll take the hit. I'm the most annoying Kinja. You guys, it's fine. Leave a comment. At me, bro. At me.
Don't forget to follow
The rest
us.
of the Kinjas that are not here,
At
leave
me.
a comment. Yeah.
Come at me.
Thank
I'm not
you.
gonna answer that question.
New answer, Ben.
Drop a comment.